The shot didn't sound like it does. In movies, it cracked the air like an icicle snapping, and then everything just tilted. My knees hit the pavement first. Hands already cuffed face against the hot hood of my anti-maze faded blue sedan, blood running down my wrist like a slow leak I couldn't tighten. The cop, stocky jaw tight, the kind of man who chews on authority like gristle, stood over me like he was annoyed I'd bled on his morning. Should have listened, he muttered. His name tag said Rourke. Somewhere close by, grocery bags hit the ground and eggs rolled in circles. Phones came up like periscopes. The sun didn't even blink. Don't move, Rourke said, even though I couldn't have moved if I'd wanted to. He reached up, tapped his body cam, and it went dark with a little chirp. That tiny sound felt louder than the shot. Dispatch, he said into his radio voice, flat rehearsed. Suspect got aggressive, possible stolen valor, send EMS, and get me backup. Suspect, that's what it was to him. Not Captain Jordan Hale, not fifth deployment, not son, nephew, neighbor. Just a problem he had already solved. Across the street, Miss Geraldine, the woman who used to slip me lemon cookies when I mowed her lawn, held her phone with both hands like it might sprout wings. Lord, no, she whispered, and I heard that clearer than the sirens. Here's what Rourke didn't see: the little matte device he'd flicked out of my jacket pocket like it was a cheap burner wasn't a phone. It was a Ranger Link Army issue the size of a deck of cards, ugly blunt, smarter than both of us put together. It had started recording the second his tone crossed a line. You only learn to hear when you spend enough nights under fire, and it had already pinged the Defense Command Center before his radio finished the word aggressive. Somewhere in a windowless room in Virginia, a red banner flashed, active duty officer, U.S. soil shots fired. A woman in a battle-worn uniform and cool eyes. General Alana Pierce looked up from her tablet and said very simply, "Get me everything." The way you say now without wasting the breath. But back on Cedar Street in Birch Hollow, North Carolina, I was just a man breathing shallow through my teeth, tasting hot metal and regret. I'd done what we practice in the mirror. When we come home, hands at 10 and 2 ask permission to narrate every move like a radio operator in a storm. Reaching for my wallet now, I'd said. Glove box, I'd said. Calm voice, easy breath, the same tone I used to talk a scared private through a night ambush. Didn't matter, the cuffs bit anyway. The shove came anyway. And then the bang, and that stupid little body cam chirp like a closing elevator door. A second cruiser slid to a stop. A younger officer stepped out, thin, nervous, still has a mother who irons his shirts on Sundays, I could tell. Ortiz. He squatted next to me, gloved up, with shaky hands pressed a towel into the hole in my shoulder. Sir, hold still, he said, eyes darting to Rourke, then back to me. You move again, and I... Rourke started. He's cuffed, Ortiz said, barely more than a breath. The crowd grew the way summer storms do. Slow, then suddenly all at once. Someone yelled, he said he was Army. Another, we're recording Miss Geraldine's video, went live, a caption with more truth than punctuation. He was calm. He was cuffed. They shot him anyway. Funny thing about blood, it warms your skin while the rest of you goes cold. My head flooded the way it did in Kandahar, once the world shrinking to the sound of my breath and the thud of a helicopter 5 miles away that felt like it was inside my chest. I got a few words past the tightness. Oh, let them lie. Ortiz's eyes flicked to mine, brown, unsteady, but not cruel. I froze. He whispered like a confession to the pavement. I shouldn't have. Not too late, I said, and I meant it. You'd be surprised how often that's true. Far above us, a Ranger Link pinged home vitals coordinates, a cut of Rourke's voice, the flat thwop of a bullet. In the command room, General Pierce's jaw set. Sovereign shield, she told her team, and the room woke up like a warship, lawyers moving medics, grabbing kits, MPs checking straps, pilots running the math in their heads. Somebody tried to say, "Ma'am, this is a local matter," and she cut the air with 3 words, "Not anymore, Lieutenant." You ever felt a helicopter in your bones? It starts as a rumor under your feet, then climbs your shins, and by the time you hear it, your body already knows. Cedar Street did anyway. 2 Black Hawks boiled the morning sky, and Birch Hollow's quiet cracked wide. Shingles rattled, coffee sloshed in mugs. People stepped onto porches with hands over hearts like the anthem had just stood up. They came in hard like an answer. General Pierce didn't bother with speeches. Combat fatigue sidearm holstered silver stars catching the light. She took the steps of the Birch Hollow substation like she'd been measuring them in her mind the whole flight. The police chief, Lowell Nash, met her with his shirt half-buttoned and a paper cup of coffee he suddenly didn't want. "This is a damn overreach," he shouted over the blades. "As of 0500, she said, pulling a leather folder that had the weight of a gavel, "you and your department are under federal oversight. You will stand down." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "And if I don't," Nash asked, but his eyes had already read the warrants. He knew. "MP," she said, and the cuffs clicked. The sound rolled through the crowd like an unexpected hymn. Rourke tried to hang back, jaw tight, hand drifting toward the badge that had just turned into a mirror. General Pierce didn't look at the badge. "Officer Clint Rourke," she called, "place your weapon on the ground. You are under arrest for aggravated assault, civil rights violations, and falsifying a report." "You don't have authority over me," he snapped, voice pitching high. "I do now," she said. That's when Ortiz did the bravest thing I saw all day. He stepped away from me, away from the safe shadow of staying quiet, and faced her. "I saw it," he said, voice trembling, but clear. He was compliant. He was cuffed. The shot came after. He didn't look at Rourke. He didn't look at the crowd. He looked at me the way a man does when he picks up a weight and knows it'll be heavy for a long time. "I've got the backup reports," he added, before they were changed. The cheer didn't start as a cheer. It started as a breath people had been holding since their grandparents' day, then a clap, then a chant that felt like a spine straightening. "Jordan, Jordan, Jordan." I wanted to tell them it wasn't about me. But I also wanted to live long enough to say that at all. I woke in a hospital to off-white tiles and Auntie May's fingers around a rosary she hadn't touched in 20 years. "You scared me," she said, and made a joke about how I still can't cook grits. We laughed with watery eyes, the kind of laugh you do to keep the dam from breaking. On the TV, every network played Cedar Street like it was a looped prayer. In Detroit, a man held a sign that said, "Honor isn't a costume." In Atlanta, a woman's sign read, "His blood woke the sky." Letters stacked up on the bedside table, little kids with crayon capes and crooked hearts. I read one from a boy named Miles that said, "My dad says courage is catching. I think you sneezed on the whole country." I snorted so hard my shoulder hurt and the nurse scolded me gentle. Weeks later, the courthouse in Capital City was colder than any winter I've known. They played the footage in such high definition you could see the sweat bead on Rourke's upper lip between the words "move again" and "I'll put him down." The digital forensics guy explained the RangerLink data without flair. Heart rate pressure dropped the cuffed posture that never changed. Ortiz took the stand in a suit too big at the shoulders, and he said the line that finally made my hands stop shaking. "I was trained to de-escalate." He de-escalated me. Then Officer Izzy Rodriguez, night shift, quiet as a moth, pulled a crumpled piece of paper from her pocket with hands that trembled anyway. "Some of us wore the uniform to serve," she read, voice shaking and strong at the same time, "some to rule." I'm done being silent. The defense tried to make noise. The judge told them to sit down. And when it was my turn, I didn't deliver a speech. I told them what I tell myself. When I can't sleep, I bled for this country overseas, sure, but the worst wound I ever took was here on a street named after trees, because a man decided my skin said more than my service. I said I didn't want revenge. I wanted recognition for the names we never learned and the mothers who never got answers. The gavel hit like thunder you feel in your shoes. Guilty on all counts, 25 years. The U.S. Attorney announced indictments against Chief Nash before the mics cooled. No confetti, no parade, just a quiet that felt for once like respect. The Army called about a medal and a ceremony. I said thank you and no, not because I was bitter, but because the fight had moved zip codes. I signed papers for a little office in Oak Ravine, 6 rooms, 2 interns, a server cobbled together from parts that still smelled like dust and electricity. Civic Shield, we investigate when veterans are targeted. We find the footage they lost. We remind people that the oath is supposed to mean something even on Tuesdays. First case, a kid in a holding cell who lunged according to a report that forgot there was a camera right there on the ceiling. Second case, a Marine stripped of rank while a certain officer's friend got promoted. We didn't fix the world. We just refused to stop trying. One night, a rookie knocked on our door, hat in his hands badge, reading Whitmore. I used to think people like you were just looking for trouble, he said, flushing. But I watched your trial. You weren't making trouble. You were making space. I told him to keep that sentence somewhere safe for the days he'd need it. Sometimes I take out the letter from Miles with the crayon cape and read it like a little sermon to myself. Sometimes I sit on Auntie May's porch and listen to Birch Hollow breathe. I still narrate my moves when a cruiser pulls up behind me. Some habits are just armor now, but I do it with the knowledge that somewhere people are watching and some of them are finally seeing. You've heard my version of that day. The bad beat the Blackhawks, the gavel, the beginning we carved out of a hard place. Now I want yours. Tell me where you're listening from and tell me what you think was the federal drop in justice or overreach. If a badge without character can do what it did to me, what should accountability really look like on the street, in the station, in the courtroom? Drop a comment if you've ever seen a lie turn into a report or a truth caught on camera that changed everything. And if you believe honor doesn't belong to one uniform or one color share, this story is subscribe and keep your eyes open for the next time courage is catching.